Good afternoon, or good evening. We'd like to call this meeting to order. First, tonight we have our own communications director, Rick Martin, here to render the invocation. And after the invocation, I would like to ask everyone to remain standing for the pledge to the flag. So thank you, Rick Martin, for coming forward.
Good evening, Chairman Jones and Board of Commissioners and staff. If we may bow our heads. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for allowing us to gather freely before you. We thank you, Lord, for the freedom to assemble and the opportunity to pray. I pray that you continue to look after our first responders. Just 1 week after we all took a moment of silence to remember what occurred 17 years ago on September 11th. I pray that you provide wisdom and discernment for our Board of Commissioners and all involved in our government. Lord God, we thank you and praise you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Communications Director Rick Martin, for extending such a wonderful invocation. Public comment clerk, I believe we have 2 individuals who have signed up. The Douglas County Board of Commissioners welcome your participation in local government. Your comments must be germane to the agenda for this particular meeting. You will be allowed 3 minutes, and when you hear that 3 minutes, I will allow 3 minutes for you to speak. And when you hear the buzzer, please wrap up your sentence due to the expiration of time. For the record, please, when you come forward, when I call your name, please state your name and your address for the record. First, we have Mr. Larry Pierce. Mr. Larry Pierce, would you please come forward?
Well, Larry Pierce, 4120 Van Sant Road, Douglasville, Georgia. I guess the first thing I need to say is yesterday morning, if I offended anybody from Alabama, you'll just have to take it out on me. A lot of fun about Alabama. I don't know if Alabama does it to Georgia people or not. But you know, sometimes you're serious and sometimes you're not. And I'm glad these educated ladies here from their school was not there yesterday. They might have took it the wrong way. But this morning was one thing. Yesterday morning was one thing. Today's another. And actually there was something on there, but I just can't get involved in everything. If I did, y'all wouldn't take me serious. And some of you may not anyway. But let me tell you something. My son one time said to me, we went to the mall when he was 3 years old, and since I was self-employed, he never saw me with any money. And we were at Walmart, and he said, Daddy, I want that.
Mr.
I said, I don't have any money with me.
Mr.
He
Pierce.
said, write a check.
Mr. Pierce, it needs to be germane to the agenda now. I know
Well, it's germane to the subject. Write a check.
Okay, write a check.
And
Okay.
writing a check, the money comes from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
It comes from all of us.
Yes, sir.
Now, there's something that kind of bothers me here, and I haven't heard much talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was hoping that Mr. Kelly Robinson would dwell on it, but this is one thing he didn't dwell on. Number 13, integrated construction for the concession stand, $700,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are concession stands, and concession stands are going to be near a ball field. Ball fields are normally built in a fairly level area, generally not on a high plane, and least of all sometimes above the high water line if there's a lake or a creek nearby. So what happens when I was here years ago is a concession stand at Hunter Park was always broken into. Kids think there was money there and they thought there was candy there, so they broke into it all the time. And in all honesty, and I'm really not joking, I think you ought to table that. And here's the reason. I think you ought to look into what they call a portable concession. A portable concession is unbelievable today what they can do. It can be moved, even to the fact that so the emergency came up. So the portable unit is all integrated in itself, which means there's one insurance charge for the unit itself. The electricity runs to it, it plugs in, it's sealed, it's contained. Now, are there fancy ones? Yes, there's fancy ones and there's cheap ones. And when I look at this cost for $700,000, just recently we bought a fire truck. It was $1.3 million.
Mr.
This is
Pierce.
half the price of the fire truck.
Okay.
So
Mr.
why don't we
Pierce, your
think about
time-
some of these things a cheaper way? If there's a cheaper way.
Yes, sir. Your time has expired.
Is my time up?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We appreciate your contribution to county government, and we will take this matter under advisement. Next, we have Mr. John Tomaski. Mr. Tomaski, please come forward and please state your name and your address and your subject matter as it pertains to being germane to the agenda.
John Tomaski, 2929 Post Road, Winston. As mentioned on the agenda of the opioid crisis, and I'm here to speak to that and related matters. First, I've been back in this country about 17 years now. I was called back for filial duty at that time, and I've been here the last couple of years just on my own. And when I came back, as I said, 17 years ago, that would be a little bit before 9/11. And having been away all of my adult life, except for 2.5 years in New England and a year in South Carolina, I had spent the rest of the time around the Atlantic Rim, either side of the Atlantic Rim. So when I came back, I had been away for a while, and I came back to a fairly different country. However, in that time, it has become a lot more different. And I'm of the opinion, and I would like you to consider this, that there is no opioid crisis, there is no suicide crisis, there's no crisis of mass shootings at sports events, entertainment events, malls, and so on. Those are symptoms of an underlying crisis. Changes in policy and structure that have occurred since 9/11, I believe, are the cause of these manifestations. But these apparently are not things that policy makers at the federal government or in other areas of government are willing to address. So they call the symptoms the crises, so they can abdicate the responsibility to have a real dialogue about the underlying crisis. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And Madam Chairman, I noticed that at this time, in your usual preliminary remarks, you did not prohibit people from defaming or criticizing elected officials, staff, or other individuals. And this might not be the first time that happened, so I'm curious whether there's been a change in policy.
No, it
Thank
has
you.
not been a change in policy. I can answer your question as you proceed back to your seat. I decided to abbreviate it. You have your First Amendment right, and that's made known when you speak to make sure that you're not offensive to the Board of Commissioners. And so far, everybody's been good, but if I have anybody that veer off course, I'll make sure I bring them back, reel them back in, okay?
Very good.
Thank you. All right, next we have presentations, and I believe we have SPLOST, but we don't, any concerns about SPLOST tonight, Board of Commissioners? Okay, I believe we had a very, very thorough presentation yesterday. Next, we have the approval of the minutes. Board of Commissioners, you have the minutes of commission meeting, minutes of September 4th, 2018, and work session minutes of August 30th, 2018, and the executive session minutes of August 30th, 2018. Are there any corrections, additions, or deletions that need to be made?
No, ma'am.
Being none, the minutes stand approved as presented. I was going to make just a slight change tonight. I know we have a proclamation, and I wanted to proceed to the new business. Had one of your members call and say they're on their way, and I'm just trying to pay homage and respect to all of you all and just make sure everybody's here as we speak about these wonderful ladies tonight. So glad that you're here, and it'll take about another maybe 5 to 10 minutes, and then we'll be ready. Okay? Thank you. New business, I wanted to move to tab number 5, appointment of Marjorie Stansel to Keep Douglas County Beautiful Board, effective immediately. If you could, Director Stanley, would you come forth and explain this to the Board of Commissioners?
Good evening, Commissioners. Keep Douglas County Beautiful, one of our members, Ms. Jude Patterson, who served as our secretary, resigned due to a new job. And we've been having a great partnership with the Douglas County Master Gardeners. So we're looking to add their representation to our board. We are asking to appoint Ms. Marjorie Stansel, who is the president of the Douglas County Masters Gardeners, and she's also a resident of Winston. So we're asking that she be appointed to the board.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Director Stanley from the Board of Commissioners? Thank you. Board of Commissioners, you have heard the reason why the appointment of Marjorie Stansel should be appointed to the Keep Douglas County Beautiful Board. Do we have a motion to?
So, go ahead.
You say so moved?
So moved.
Mhm.
Sorry, I thought you were through.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes. Results should appear in just a second.
I did. I hit it, say.
Okay, there it is. It's a 5-0 vote, and the motion carries. So thank you so much, Board of Commissioners. We'll move to tab number 6. Tab number 6 is resolution authorizing the filing of a condemnation petition to acquire the required right-of-way and easements of parcel number 03741820005 for the purpose of facilitating the construction of a roadway improvement project. We have our director here. Director Valentin, you want to come forward and just give us just a quick update regarding this resolution? Thank you so much, Director.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Commissioners. This particular parcel is located on Maxim Road. It's in connection with the Maxim Road improvements at Thornton Road. And most of the land is vacant land in the floodplain. And so we've been in negotiations with the property owner for a while. They agreed to the purchase price. However, there were some issues related to a release of liens that we could not reconcile, and therefore a condemnation petition would be necessary.
Okay. Any questions for Director Valentin?
No.
Vice Chairman Robinson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just as a point of clarity, how long has this project been going on from your knowledge, recognizing how long have we been working on this?
At least a year that I've been working on it.
And the reason I bring this up, if you think about what Maxim Road and Thornton Road represent in Douglas County, which is in my district, District 2, it is one of the most heavily trafficked areas in our county. Thornton Road, only second to I-20, is the busiest, with somewhere, about 75,000 trip miles a day. That's an awful lot of congestion, it's a lot of traffic. If you think about what comes out of Paulding County down Thornton Road, if you think about what spills over from Cobb County through Maxim Road, there's a lot of congestion right there going toward the highway. And this project is supposed to improve that intersection. That same intersection extends down Maxim Road We've experienced some loss of life, people trying to cross that street. And so we recognize that it's not just a congestion issue, but it's a safety issue. Do we recognize, do we acknowledge the fact that there's sidewalks are supposed to eventually be part of this and a better lighting? I mean, talk a little bit about the concept of what's going there.
That is correct. There will be improvements at the intersection itself, widening at the intersection with turn lanes, and there's going to be sidewalks along both sides of the road as well. And eventually, the project will be able to extend the sidewalk to connect with existing sidewalk later on. So it will provide residents in the immediate area the ability to walk to the shopping areas, particularly the retail areas and the Kroger at the corner, the pharmacy across the street, without having to walk on the grass street.
I'll close out my comments for my peers and we can move on with the agenda. But if you think about policy and you think about character area, as I always say, our four commission districts are distinguishedly very, very different. I tend to have a more urban feel because I look more like Cobb and Fulton. So those residents and citizens within that district tend to like, well, can we get some sidewalks? Can we get some street lights? It's a little bit different feel. So the character area that I tend to advocate comes from the spirit and what those residents may want. But we recognize in other areas they may not want as much. They may go in sort of an alternative structure. But what we appreciate is what you've done and what the state has done to accommodate this area. In other words, it doesn't have to be one flavor for the county. You can have differences. It can be little iterations and stuff. We all one Douglas, of course, Douglas Unite. But each one of us can coexist in our own areas, and I appreciate the hard work that it took to get this to this place that, look, we're not everybody else. We're not out maybe perhaps in the West, which is a little bit more rural than we are. We're almost built out. District 2 is almost built out where there's not much room. So we appreciate the effort to help bring this to pass, both for quality of life and congestion. Madam Chair, I yield back.
Thank you so much. Okay, Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve this resolution
So
authorizing?
moved as rated.
All right. So moved.
Second.
We have a second. Motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please cast your votes. We have a 5-0 vote. It's unanimous, and the motion carries. We'll move to tab number 7, authorization to amend an employment contract with Gary Dukes, Parks and Recreation Director, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve this authorization to amend?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second, please. Oh, you do? Okay, Commissioner Robinson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is more for the broader board to consider an organizational structure for the future that considers a deeper level of hierarchy. We need some number twos. We've been talking about that for quite some time. And we continue to have conversations such as this, which is duly noted. In other words, it's relevant. In other words, I'd like to see an emphasis as we go in here and as we make these one-off changes that we look at a broader long-term organizational structure with the aging of our population, with the impending retirement of the baby boomers that are very relevant here in Douglas County. It's important that I'm going to emphasize that we take in consideration, especially in this upcoming budget cycle, some type of formal succession plan, maybe not all at once, but just make sure that we address those needs to make sure that perhaps the institutional knowledge that is here doesn't leave us and that, we properly have it, Madam Chair. I yield back.
Okay, thank you so much. We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote pass, and the motion carries. We'll move to tab number 8. Tab number 8 is approval of the substitution of the law firm Corey Watson, P.C. in Sherrod and Bernard for the law firm Beasley Allen, P.C. in Sherrod and Bernard, P.C. in connection with the contract regarding opioid claims for the county. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve the substitution of the law firm?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Commissioner Guido.
I would just like for the Kenny Bernard, if you would kind of explain why we're having to do.
Sure. Back in April and May, the county hired both our firm and Beasley Allen to handle the bringing forth the opioids claim on behalf of county instrumentalities. Beasley Allen was announced, I think last week or about 10 days, within the last week, on behalf of the state that they would be representing the state along with several other firms. And I got an email from Ron Jones that they're not going to be representing any Georgia counties because they've elected to represent the state. Corey Watson is a law firm that focuses on products liability. We've worked with them before. They've got probably 400 to 500 of these cases, all city and counties, not state governments. And so it's a good fit for Douglas County. They're taking the contract just as it was already approved by this board. The only substitution is the name of the parties. In other words, it's contingency fee, no risk to the county unless there's a recovery.
And the purpose of all this is due to the fact that there could be some litigation coming down the road against some of the producers of the opiates, and so we want to have a place at the table.
Well, there are some that have already filed. It's probably broken down into 3 tiers. One tier is those that jumped and hurried up and filed something. There's some, and they're tied up in what's called MDL litigation. And MDL litigation is when federal courts consolidate all the claims into one big committee court by one judge to oversee. There's some of those already for those that have previously filed. Some counties chose, like us, to wait and see where the action was going to lie, because if you think about the claim, there's a claim against the manufacturer, and the claim against the manufacturer is, did they conceal information to doctors that end up prescribing these drugs? There's also defenses of doctors that they relied on whatever information that was given by the manufacturer, was it withheld? The bigger issue, I think, that has led to this crisis, among other things, and I think it was eloquently spoken by one of our guests earlier, is the noncompliance with federal and state law as far as reporting requirements. There are about 4 major players in the state of Georgia that supply drugs to pharmacies, and there are certain controlled substances that have to be reported to federal and state agencies to track. And there is some evidence that some, if not all, of the drug suppliers did not comply with the law. It can be argued intentionally because had they reported the quantities in some of these cities, they would have overlapped the population by many, many fold. And so what we are undertaking right now, the study of where's the best place to file a claim. Some jumped to federal court. They chose to go after the big manufacturers. The manufacturers will take the position that we didn't prescribe the drug, we just made it. Then they'll blame the doctors. The doctors will blame the manufacturer. Ultimately, what got it on the street was the supplier. It was manufactured, it was also supplied. So we're looking at that for potential state actions. I hope that addressed your question.
Yes, yes, it did. And I yield back. Thank you.
Okay. All right. We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes. Thank you so much, legal counsel. Thank you for explaining that for us. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. And we'll move to tab number 9, and then we'll circle back to our proclamation. Tab number 9, resolution authorizing a temporary moratorium on the acceptance of applications for review of rezonings for and acceptance of development plans and issuance of development special use and building permits for rock quarries and related uses. Board of Commissioners, you have heard this resolution. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Vice Chairman Robinson.
We're just as a point of order, Madam Chair, so we're just putting a temporary moratorium. There will be another conversation later on regarding this whole topic and why we're doing it, or?
Yes, and I'll just ask my legal counsel to chime in, if you could, just the purpose of this resolution tonight.
The purpose of this moratorium is to review all our UDC development code regulations, rules for acceptance, study, issuance of all the things required in here. If that study comes back and there are alterations in our ordinance, that'll automatically make the moratorium lapse. If, on the other hand, it runs its full gamut of 90 days, you have the right to extend it until that's done. I will tell you, the legal staff is in the process of reviewing it from A to Z to bring it up to speed based on where we are in 2018 versus when it was probably originally adopted, without the foresight of environmental issues and everything else, noise, pollution, water safety, quality of life for the constituents. So we will be taking a comprehensive review and reporting back to y'all within the 90 days.
Thank you.
And that sort of clarifies, so there will be a public hearing before any action is taken, if there's any action being taken, and that true?
UDC, if there's a UDC change versus if there's a UDC change, that will be posted on the agenda and a public time for input. If there is a modification of code, the same thing. And I think Ron's here, and Ron, I'm getting the two confused right now. For UDC purposes, it just goes on an agenda, and then there's an open meeting for the public to comment on it, and they have the prerogative to approve it, disapprove it, or make changes. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Ron, could you come forward, please? Just, I believe the commissioner has one question for you. Yes.
Yeah, and let me, while he's coming up, to answer Commissioner Robinson the rest of his question, if it requires an ordinance change, those are published, and there's a public hearing for ordinance change. For a code change, they're published as part of the agenda, and then there's a public hearing. It's very close, but a little bit different.
That's why I wanted to get some clarity, and if you can just clarify, Ron, if you're going to add anything, I don't want to belabor this. I just wanted clarity for the public that may want to, like, rock quarry, what is that about? Go ahead.
And yes, so it would go through the process of the public hearing at the UDC, and our clerk, Johanna Womack, would post that in the paper in appropriate time period to allow for a proper review of the UDC updates. And then, of course, if there is a public hearing at the planning and zoning meetings for that.
Okay.
I'm fine, Madam Chair. I'm satisfied. I yield. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Commissioner Mulcair.
It would seem to me that we need a term, we need a term of time. If this is a temporary moratorium, is it 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days? Doesn't that need to be in the body of the resolution?
It's in the body, it's 90 days in the body. It's the last two paragraphs.
Well, I don't see it.
That we attach it.
It's not on the agenda.
Not on mine.
It's not on the agenda.
Well, it's here, hold on.
It's not on my agenda.
Okay, I'll read it so we're clear.
Okay, it's not on my agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
Do you want me to read it, Madam Chair?
Yes, please
Okay.
read it.
And I'm
Attorney.
skipping some of the legalistic stuff and getting to the base. The Board of Commissioners does enact a temporary moratorium for 90 days from the date of adoption of this resolution on the acceptance of applications for review of rezonings for and acceptance of development plans for review, issuance of development and special use permits for rock quarries and uses related thereto within the unincorporated county, and to perform a formal assessment of the deed for additional rock quarries and evaluate appropriate regulations thereof, reporting recommended changes to be considered and enacted by the Board of Commissioners. The Board of Commissioners further directs that in the event that the recommendations are made and changes are adopted less than 90 days from the adoption of this moratorium, the moratorium shall be repealed by such adoption. Otherwise, the moratorium shall stand repealed 90 days from the date of adoption unless extended by the Board of Commissioners.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. All right. You yield back?
I did.
You yield back? Okay, thank you. Well, we have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes for this resolution. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote. The motion carries to authorize a temporary moratorium on the building permit for rock quarries. Thank you so much, and I would like to circle back to tab number 4. And before I start, I would like to acknowledge the wonderful women of graduate chapter of Sigma Omega Omega Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, AKA. Would y'all stand so we can give you just a hand for just being who you are? Appreciate what you do here in the community. Thank you. Appreciate you. And Mayor Robinson is here tonight. Hey, Mayor, stand and let us see you. Thank you for being here tonight as well. Well, who's going to read the? All right, Ms. Tracy Crooks. Thank you so much for reading the proclamation tonight.
Well, thank you, and good evening, and again, thank you, Madam Chair, the Board of Commissioners, the other county representatives, we, the members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority, Sigma Omega Omega Chapter. We're honored to be here, and thank you for this opportunity. And if I may take the liberty, I would like our President and Vice President to stand. We also have, as you know, our other members here, and the mayor. We're so happy we have officers, and we're really just honored to be here. And at this time, I will read the proclamation. Douglas County Board of Commissioners, Sigma Omega Omega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Whereas the Sigma Omega Omega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated was chartered in December of 1990. And whereas the Sigma Omega Omega Chapter is a graduate chapter of the oldest African American sorority in the nation and was founded on the campus of Howard University in 1908. The chapter has 167 active members, which consist of college graduate and professional women. And whereas the Sigma Omega Omega Chapter continues to support and lead the community projects with initiatives and volunteer efforts such as the annual book bag drive and distribution, in which 400 to 500 book bags, school supplies, activities, and are provided to the children of Douglas County with the assistance of Douglas County Commissioner Henry Mitchell III, other local companies and leaders. Over the years, thousands of book bags and supplies have been collected and distributed. And whereas the Sigma Omega Omega Chapter also hosts, in conjunction to the book bag giveaway, a business expo for companies and entrepreneurs. Sigma Omega Omega Chapter has adopted a street in Douglasville, District 1, Malone Street, and is clean on a quarterly basis. Holds a year-round food pantry at Eastside Elementary School, and throughout the years have served with dignity, steadfastness, loyalty to the residents throughout Douglas County communities. And whereas the Sigma Omega Omega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated is dedicated to implementing programs of service that enhance the social, economic, and educational well-being of our local, national, and international communities. Programs remain the heart of Alpha Kappa Alpha. And whereas the program theme for 2018 through 2022 is exemplifying excellence through sustainable service. The international program includes 5 program targets that are designed to advance the mission of Alpha Kappa Alpha with excellence and underscore their commitment to sustainable service. HBCU for Life, A Call to Action, Women's Health Care and Wellness, Building Your Economic Legacy, the Arts and Global Impact. And whereas on September the 29th, the Sigma Omega Omega Chapter will host their annual Sisterly Relations Retreat to celebrate the members for their continuous service to all mankind. Now, therefore, District 1 Commissioner Henry Mitchell III and the Douglas County Board of Commissioners does hereby commend the Sigma Omega Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated for their many years of dedicated service to Douglas County communities and convey their appreciation on behalf of the Douglas County on this 18th day of September 2018. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is so amazing. We really appreciate the Board of Commissioners, and we would like to, I want to give a special, profound support and respect to our Commissioner, District 1, Henry Mitchell III, for his unending support. And also, you know, of course, you have the entire board as well supporting you, but appreciate what he's doing to make a difference. Great things happening in District 1. So thank you all so much. And would just like to take the time to just personally thank you for how engaged you are in the community and what you do and your presence and your just commitment. I enjoy all the events that you have. I try to attend, as well as the Commissioner Mitchell, and I am just blown away. And I always say I gave birth to an AKA, so I feel special. I'm not one, but I gave birth to one, and I really appreciate what y'all do in the community. Well, Board of Commissioners, you have heard this amazing proclamation as presented. Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Robinson.
Did Mitchell want to go, or I'll yield?
No, go right ahead. Go right ahead. I'll follow you.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I'll be brief in just sort of sharing. Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much for what you do in public service. And just for the record, back in 1984, when I went to college at West Georgia College, I was a Cavalier, which means I was a little brother to the AKAs. My first exposure to what it means to be academic excellence, it was not just about external, it was about internal. It was about strength. It was a confidence. It only befitting that I went on to marry an AKA and so forth and so forth. But I share that I appreciate your social programs, but it's who you are, not what you do. And I just want to thank you all for being here, and I stand with my fellow Commissioner, District 1. Well done. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Commissioner Mitchell.
And I guess there's not much more need to be said outside of job well done. And we just so honor you guys and you ladies for for what you do and your commitment to the community. And I mean, I stand with you guys from the cleaning of Malone to the mere fact of the book bags and those that we want to make sure that are educated in the HBCUs and all the things that you guys have done and continuous to do. So we really support you guys. And I want to just say this board, this board and chair all support the things in which you guys do in the community, because it's not, again, about what you guys say and talk about. It's that you guys are willing to walk that walk. So thank you guys, and thank you ladies. I mean, not guys, but you get what I'm saying, that northern side. Yeah. Thank you ladies for a job well done. And I'm looking forward to being at the event that a Saturday from now. I don't have the dates in front of me, but I'm looking forward to that event so we can have some even more bigger funds about what you guys are doing and your continued success. Again, thank you, and continue what you're doing and continue what you're doing as a greatness. Yes, and let's definitely want to get a picture.
Yeah, we are.
And we'll first we got to kind of approve and do all this other stuff, so we'll let that kind of go through and then we'll get a picture. So again, thank you guys.
You yield back?
Yes, I yield back. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Commissioner Mulcair.
Yes. I can't really add anything other than to say it's to the degree which a county's citizens and its neighbor citizens are engaged in the community are really about the heart and soul of the community. And all I can do is thank you on my behalf because it's very clearly that you contribute so much to the community. So thank you. I yield back.
Okay, thank you. Well, Board of Commissioners, we have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes for this proclamation. To authorize this proclamation. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries, and congratulations on your proclamation, AKAs. Thank you so much. May we come down and take a photograph with you?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Vice Chairman Hazel.
can you clarify for us, is that coral and emerald or pink and green? I'm legally blind, you know, but I'm partial to the red and white, but salmon.
So we're coming down to take a photograph with you, if that's okay. We're coming down.
Would you like 3 stacks of 3? Okay? Stacks of 3. So we're stacks of 3. Okay. 2 here, the shortest in the front. Martin, Mr. Till.
Martin, I can't see you. Mark. 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 If you can't see the camera, they can't see you.
We're smiling. We're going to take a number of pictures, okay? A number of them, I'll let you know. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank y'all. Congratulations. Thank y'all. Thank you very much. Y'all look so pretty.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Kelly Roberts. Oh, this is for me.
Everybody went home. Not tomorrow night, but I will. Lunch, I think.
Well done, Mitch.
This was good.
You're not surprised, are you?
So what now? That was me.
Okay, it was a wonderful presentation to the Alpha Kappa Appas. Next, we will move into our consent agenda. Tab number 10, authorization to approve the resolution adopting the Liverpool Centers Initiative, LCI, amendment to the previously approved Sweetwater Master Plan for submission to the Atlanta Regional Commission, ARC. Tab number 11, approval of the Federal Transit Administration mandated Title VI non-discrimination program for multimodal transportation services, Connect Douglas. Tab number 12, authorization to award a contract to the LOS Group to provide and install a new electronic content management system for a total cost of $82,188, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 13, authorization to award a contract to Integrated Construction for the construction of the concession stand at Boundary Waters Park for the total cost of $709,747.34 to be funded through the 2016 SPLOST funds as recommended by the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 14, authorization to award a contract to West Georgia Lighting Incorporation for the installation of the new lighting of the Boundary Waters soccer field for a total cost of $295,913, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 15, authorization to accept the Keep Georgia Beautiful Foundation Litter Law Enforcement Grant in the amount of $900 to amend the external affairs budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 16, authorization to accept the Georgia Department of Agriculture Dog and Cat Sterilization Grant in the amount of $6,100 and amend the animal services budget, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 17, authorization to approve a strategic alliance memorandum with the United States Small Business Administration, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 18, authorization to use SPLOST equipment funds to purchase lawn maintenance equipment at a total cost of $13,414.92 as recommended by the Parks and Recreation Oversight Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 19, authorization to approve a lighting agreement with the Georgia Department of Transportation for the county to accept responsibility for the ongoing power service, operation, repair, and maintenance of the lighting system upon GDOT's completion of State Route 5 and Dorset Shoals, Banks Mill, Pool Road Roundabout, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 20, authorization to approve supplemental agreement number 2 with R.J. Haney on the Riverside Parkway and Rock House Road intersection traffic signal project to add an auxiliary signal display, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 21, approval of additional funding allocation from the 2016 SPLOST program for transportation equipment, and authorization to use SPLOST equipment funds to purchase right-of-way of mowing equipment at a total cost of $282,000 as recommended by the Transportation Oversight Committee, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 22, authorization to approve an intergovernmental agreement between Douglas County and Paulding County for improvements to the Bakers Bridge Road, Sweetwater Church Road, Doris Road, High Point Road intersection, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. Tab number 23, authorization to approve the 2019 schedule for work sessions, commission meetings, planning and zoning board meetings, and variance hearings. Last but not least, tab number 24, authorization to approve the 2019 Douglas County Employee Benefit offerings and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents. That concludes our consent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved as read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on any particular item? Vice Chairman Robinson?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be quick. We're rolling here, so I won't belabor it. Number 14 and number 13, I'll go ahead and combine them. This is dealing with, is Gary Dukes here? No?
Yes,
Yes,
he's here.
Director
you
Dukes,
bring
could you
him back,
come
Madam
forward,
Chair?
please?
Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm going to give a little context, and Gary, I want you to fill in a couple of holes. So again, we're out at Boundary Waters, a park that was created back in 2002 as part of the 2002 SPLOST. Correct. It is a mega park. The county, I guess purposely at that time, the administration determined that building local passive parks was not enough. We're getting density. I mean, that's almost 20 years ago. Go figure. Where now you've got what, baseball fields out there. What's out there now, and then we're going to put it all together. Can you give us context? How many baseball fields?
We have 8 baseball fields, soccer field, and a football field.
Okay. Do we have a trail system?
We have a trail system, correct, and an aquatic center.
And an aquatic, okay, and an aquatic center. So we've got these, and we're working on
The building.
Right.
To have the building built for the soccer and the football field.
okay, and as far as functioning, we will ultimately get a multi-purpose basketball, right, in the context. So,
And a multipurpose recreation center, yeah, absolutely.
yeah, okay, I just wanted to make sure. This is just context that we built out this park, but one of the things in building out the football field that was funded by the prior SPOS in 2002, that we finished, obviously, in addition to having the soccer field there, we recognize that it's not complete, right? We recognize that the restrooms were needed. Children had to go too far to the baseball fields to run from soccer, football with their equipment. We're talking about children, and we recognize we need to accommodate. So the thought behind the design, and Gary, correct me, is that the way the fields were positioned, both soccer and football, as opposed to usually each one of them have their own press box, restrooms, and so forth. We had a combination model. Talk about why we went down that path.
Well, as you may or may not know, the athletic associations are very controlling as far as concession stand and their merchandise as it relates to their buying and selling of their goods. And so we designed a concession stand that could be utilized by the football field on one side and the soccer folks on the second. Now, the second story, and the restroom, of course, would be joint use. And then the second story will also be joint use, but there's also room up there for future offices if we need to put personnel there. And a press box, it will be utilized as a press box for the football field.
Okay. So, and the reason I bring it up, and obviously I'm sensitive to my Parks and Rec Committee and how they approach that and work with you to design this. So I'm fine with that accordingly. But at the end of the day, when you talk about adding lighting to the soccer field, so put all this together, the lighting was what, $295,000. Not quite as much as my Riverside, but that's a lot of lights. What are you lighting up? Just the field itself, up to the parking? I mean, what does that entail?
Just the soccer field.
Just the soccer field?
Just the soccer field.
Just the play part, so
Right.
just, okay, that's going to be lit up then?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, all right.
I hope it's bright.
Yeah, no, and I'm acknowledging, again, I don't discount, comments. I'm always sensitive to citizens. I may not respond, but I do hear. And the premise behind, policy, we believe in Douglas County, we believe in public safety, and adequately funding should be done for that. But citizens, there's also citizens who also believe that it doesn't have to be an either or, but also we want to experience our tax dollars, whether it's transportation, or everybody doesn't play basketball, on a 15-man team, 3 on the bench. Everybody doesn't play football, so we build parks to accommodate the rest of the citizenry, people like me. I wasn't Henry. I mean, I'm not a baller, but I'm that, that rec ball guy. So we recognize that our tax dollars have to be appropriately spread to meet the needs, but it just needs to be balanced, right? I think we've got the right appropriation, but we want to get it right. You've got a quality aquatic center, you've got a quality football field, you've got a multi-purpose coming online, and so everything needs to be commensurate. So while I appreciate the cost, we have low-cost providers, I believe in quality as well. It's got to be commensurate. So while I was open to anything that would have got us there, it can't compromise quality, and so it need to be consistent. It's like, Deer Lake Park and having a 10-animal shelter, right? Remember that concept? And we're like, no, that's not the standard that we're setting. So I appreciate the work you guys did. Again, I'm not speaking to the committee. I know you guys did your due diligence. I appreciate you just covering the citizens of District 2 and building out that park. I yield, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Mulcair?
Yes.
And then Commissioner Mitchell.
I'd like to just talk briefly about item 24 having to do with Douglas County employee benefits. On behalf of the Employee Benefits Committee, and Chairman Jones serves with me on that committee, I'm exceedingly proud that this cycle around involves no changes in coverage, no changes in copays, no changes in deductibles, and no changes in pharmaceutical coverages. There was a small change to short-term and long-term disability, very small change there in terms of the deductible, and that's typically a very small population. It's also continues to be a platinum plan. Now think about that, and think about this. The plan, as it has been nurtured, let's say, over the last several years by this committee, is trending to eliminate our health care benefit. Now, I didn't say it was going to be eliminated, but I said the way it's trending at this point, it looks like we are going to eliminate our health care benefits deficit. And that's significant as other municipalities, other counties, other states, costs and liabilities, deficits in terms of health care and so forth, continue to balloon up. Douglas County and this committee and its employees have contributed to a plan that's hopefully will be no deficit indicated in a couple of years. So that's something to really be proud of, and I yield back.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Mulcair. Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just one quick note on item number 24, just to piggyback on Commissioner Mulcair. I think this is a job well done, and to the Finance Department and benefits to committees and all the others who actually kind of contribute to that success story. I just also caution us as a board, we have those ups and downs, those dips, so just, ride this wave, and it's good now. But the way healthcare changes and the way things I've seen, come and go, just kind of don't get too excited about tomorrow. But on another scale, number 13, back to Parks and Rec, just to co-sign with Vice Chair and to sign off with myself and Commissioner Mulcair. I think this is a job well done. And to you, thank you for putting up with Commissioner Mulcair and myself. I know it gets a little tough. We end up trying to shift and make sure that these dollars and cents kind of work out. But the one thing I want to make sure that we all are clear about, and I know you are, is that we want quality. We want the best. And I think our citizens deserves the best. I'm not anywhere close to even considering, and I could probably say this for Commissioner Mulcair, on porta potties or mobile units and all of that. I think the citizens, for their splost penny, deserves the best. So just want to make sure that part is clear, that would I consider trying to make adjustments with costs? Absolutely. We talk on a regular about how can we cut, save, and make that penny splost go further. But at the cost of doing business today, and if you'll speak to that just briefly, it's costing more to build out these types of concession with the brick and mortar, and not as though the economy is doing good, period.
Right. We've discussed a lot of our projects with our architects.
Yes.
And of course, when a lot of these projects were on the drawing board several years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, the price of doing business was $190 a square foot. And now we're finding out that most of the buildings that are being built are $225 a square foot. So, you know, they keep telling us, all we can do is go by what they tell us, that the price of concrete and the price of steel is skyrocketing. And that's what's driving the cost up.
Right.
We actually got an architect yesterday telling us that labor had gone up 30%. And it had gone up to the point that construction companies were trying to get other construction companies' employees to leave and come to them.
Right.
So it's a battle out there.
Understood.
As far as the price. And to your point, Commissioner Mitchell and Commissioner Mulcair, we have tried to do some, we discussed this at length,
Right,
this
right.
project at length.
Right.
And we even went back to the architect and
Yes.
asked him, if
Yes.
you will remember,
Yes.
what we could save if we took the second story off. We
That's
didn't want
correct.
to do that, but
Right.
we actually went back to the architect, and the savings just wasn't there.
Right.
It wasn't.
Well, there was a savings, but it
There
wasn't
was
enough.
there
Right.
was a savings,
Okay.
but it really wasn't worth
No,
what we would save there.
Right.
So those are some of the problems we're facing, and we'll face them on projects from now on unless
From the
something
Senior
changes.
Citizen Center and moving forward with any brick and mortar, steel, that just the cost of now of doing business. So the good part is that we're moving forward with this project. And that's a good thing, because if we decide to wait another 6 months or a year or whatever, we could be now paying $250 or more per square foot.
Correct.
So, but again, I just want to just thank you, and again, job well done to you and your staff, and we appreciate all that you've done through the Parks and Rec and all that you're doing through the Parks and Recreation Department. So keep that up, and outside of that, I yield back.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Mitchell.
you.
Commissioner Guider?
Yes, and I'm going to ask Director Valentine to come up here. Please, thank you. This is on item number 22,
Madam Chair,
authorization.
excuse me, I apologize. I don't mean to interrupt you there, Commissioner Guider, but I want to, can I point of order for just 1 second to go back to Gary, because I want him to give the dates of the up-and-coming dates that are coming up with. Yes, my apologies, and my apologies,
okay.
Commissioner Guider. Yes.
Yes, I'd like
Yes.
everyone to know that this Thursday, the 20th, September the 20th, from 6 to 8 p.m.,
Yes.
we're having a public input meeting on the Multipurpose Recreation Center at the Boundary Waters Aquatic Center.
Correct.
And we will have 3 schemes laid out, and people will actually be able to come and look. The architect will be there. Morton Altabelli will be there, and I'll be there, and we can answer any questions that they might have.
Right.
And then they will get to choose, if they choose to do that, which
Right.
scheme they would like to see.
And then after that, we'll move everything down to Deer Lick
It will
for,
be moved to Deer Lick
for about
after
2
that,
weeks.
and people can do the same there.
Yes,
And
but we won't have any staff on location, but they'll be having a drop box. They can drop off any cards of anything they want to state, good, bad, or indifferent.
Well,
Correct.
actually, the recreation staff that will
Well,
be
yeah.
at Deer Lick
Yes.
will be able to help people and inform them and
That's correct,
answer any
yes.
questions and so forth.
And from my understanding, after that, is there another meeting outside?
Yes, there'll
Okay.
be another meeting on
I want to say, is it the
the
9th?
8th.
The 8th, okay, okay.
the 8th.
The 8th,
And
October
it will
8th.
be 6 to 8 at Deer Lick, same time frame,
And then you'll have input again, and you'll have staff again with.
to answer all the
Oh,
questions.
Okay, and my apologies, I just want to make sure we get those dates out there for the record, so everybody will know exactly when these dates are, so they can kind of attend. Again, I yield back, and my apologies, Commissioner Guyder. I yield.
Commissioner Guider?
Ready?
Yes.
Okay. Director Valentine. This is concerning the intergovernmental agreement between Douglas County and Paulding County for the intersection there at Dars Road and Sweetwater Church Road and High Tower, not High Tower, but High Point, yeah. This has been a long time coming too, because I remember when the commissioner from Paulding County called me back in 2016 and said, hey, we'll go in together and fix this intersection because it affects residents from both counties.
Yes.
So I was really excited, so I thought it'd be done within 6 months, but, because we had to pass our splosh in order to have the funds available. But now we're doing the intergovernmental agreement. We will start the design. We've got all the right-of-way differences ironed out.
Actually, Commissioner, on this particular project, and I will concede, it's been around for quite a long time. We are very, very close to getting it to actual construction. We have completed, I would say, 95% plus of the design. We're
Good,
doing the final
good.
tweaks on the design. Some of the components were done by Douglas County, some by Paulding County, and then they had to be meshed together. And we're very, very close to finalizing those. Some of the delay as well was related to the initial design involved several parcels that would have been impacted that we would have had to acquire right-of-way from. So we went back and tweaked the design to minimize those. So now we're down to just 2 parcels. And once we finalize the design, the final tweaks to it, we will then obtain those 2 parcels, and then we would be in position to advertise for construction. And the
So
goal,
timeline.
time-wise, would be by the end of the year, we'd be ready to advertise for construction, and construction should commence in the spring as weather breaks.
Very, very good. I'm looking forward to this, and we will probably have to pave the Doris Road section after we complete this intersection.
There will be a section of, yes, there will be several hundred feet in all directions from the intersection that are paved as part of the project, but then beyond that, there's other work that needs to be done under
There's
other
probably about
projects.
9,000 vehicles that travel on a daily basis through there. So, all right, thank you. I'm looking forward to this one being completed and marked off, okay? I yield back.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Guider. Thank you, Director Valentine. With that being said, we have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes for the consent agenda for approval. Okay, we have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. Board of Commissioners, you have the approval of the expenses before you. I know you've had an opportunity to look at those. So I will call for a motion. Do we have a motion to approve the expenses?
So moved.
So, second?
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion about any of the expenses? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please cast your vote. We have a 5-0 unanimous vote, and the motion carries. Next, we have the announcements. I will ask our communications director to please come forward, read our announcements.
Madam Chair, while Rick's coming up, can I make one announcement?
Yes, sir.
Because of the
Yes,
passage
Attorney.
of the moratorium, if y'all would see Lisa Watson before you leave so you can sign it, we would appreciate it, so it goes into effect tonight before tomorrow morning.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Attorney.
Good evening again, Chairman Jones and members of the Board of Commissioners and county staff. Just moments ago, you heard from Mr. Dukes himself regarding the community engagement meeting to discuss the building of the new multipurpose center. And for those who didn't catch that earlier, that's happening at Boundary Waters Aquatic Center Complex. It's happening on September 20th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And again, it'll move on to Deer Lake on October 8th, as he mentioned.
Madam Chair, point of my address?
Yes.
Yes, and to that point, I don't want it to be dismissed. To the residents of District 2,
Yes, sir.
I encourage them to come out to the Aquatic Center on September 20th to give input. Your voice does matter, and this is something that the community asked for. It originated out of that area, which is the South Douglas County, and so it's important that this is, 3-4 years later, it's finally here. So you need to weigh in on these options. You've got this moment of time as well as what was articulated earlier. I yield, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Director
Sure.
Martin.
Yes, ma'am. Want to call everyone's attention to September Saturdays, the first Saturday of September Saturdays Festival. It's happening this coming Saturday. If I didn't say Saturday enough, I'm going to make sure I say it again. This Saturday, September 22nd. Our department, the Communications and Community Relations Department, through the Board of Commissioners, pleased to announce it's the largest community festival that we have. Google is our presenting sponsor. I'm happy to announce we have nearly 200 vendors registered so far already, and we're continuing to work on that. Again, this Saturday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. here at the courthouse. So we're really excited. The theme is Family Fun Day, and Heroes Day and Touch a Truck Experience is happening on September 29th, at the next Saturday. I'll continue to, unless Commissioner Robinson wanted to speak in regards to his boot camp.
Okay. You will.
Okay. Real quick, no, I just wanted to highlight that we do have our third annual HOA boot camp for, it's really for everyone, but it's coming out of our district. And this year's keynote speaker is going to be State Representative William Bodie Jr. He's going to come and deal with the second round, the next iteration of HOA Matters. That's what he's terming it, HOA Matters. Come on out. It's going to be from 8 to 12 a.m. 8 a.m. to 12 noon at Deer Lake Park at 21805 Mack Road. Also, we're going to be covering what we call neighborhood planning organizations. We talked about this during last year's where we broached the subject where everyone doesn't have an HOA, but citizens want to get more actively involved. Everyone can't be appointed to a board, but there's a way in which you can assemble yourselves and provide input. And this is a structure that we've agreed to District 2. So we're going to be formalizing that and hopefully finding members for not just HOA neighborhoods, but also for neighborhoods that just simply don't have HOAs, but you have people who want to actively represent the areas that they live in. So we look forward to that. Madam Chair, I yield.
Okay, thank you. Back to you,
Thank
Director
you, ma'am.
Martin.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Point of order. Okay, I'll chime in reference to the public input meeting that's in reference to the Senior Citizen Center building. It'll be happening in Lithia Springs for the SPLOST funds. That meeting is October 4th from 4 p.m. until 6 p.m. at First Baptist Church in Lithia Springs at 3566 Veterans Memorial Highway. For more information, you can get in contact with David Good at 2016splost@gmail.com. Now, we've had the first input meeting at Cornerstone Baptist Church. Got a lot of great information, got a lot of good stuff. This is round 2, and as Commissioner Robinson stated about even his HOA meetings, these are meetings that we really encourage the citizens of Douglas County, not just in District 1, and not just in Lithia Springs, countywide, to come out, and we'd love to have your input on what this Senior Citizen Center could be. what the possibilities are. So we had a great turnout the last round. Looking forward to October 4th at First Baptist Church. Again, that's 3566 Veterans Memorial Highway on October 4th from 4 o'clock until 6 p.m. Second on the agenda is my coffee and conversation. It's coming up Saturday, October 6th from 10 until 12 noon at Brookview Apartment Leasing Office. That's 8460 Hospital Drive. Remember, I provide the coffee, you provide the conversation, and there are normally some great turnouts. And also at that same time, you get a chance to kind of talk about the various up-and-coming SPLOST projects, anything that's going on in District 1 or outside of District 1. But you're welcome to come by and be a part of this. Again, the coffee and conversation is at Brookview Apartment Leasing Office. That's 8460 Hospital Drive, October 6th, Saturday, October 6th. Come join me. And like I said, I'll provide the coffee, you provide the conversation. Again, thank you, and thank you, Madam Chair. I yield back.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mitchell.
Madam Chair, that concludes the announcements.
All right, thank you so much. Are there any other announcements from any other commissioners or comments before I move forward with closing? Okay, being none, this meeting stands adjourned.